Welcome back, sweet friends. It is so great to be here with you today. We hope this video finds you all well. My name is Emmy, my husband is Paul, and this is the channel Frugal Money Saver. We're an early retirement, debt and mortgage-free couple living in the state of New York. And our channel basically just shows you how to have a full, rich, abundant life while spending less money. Today's video we are so excited for. Paul and I put our heads together and we thought it would be so interesting to share a day's worth of meals for you that were typical during World War II when food was rationed. So we went to the cookbook, American Woman's Cookbook, and we took a day's worth of meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we created them. Some of the dishes we normally wouldn't eat today, but they're not that obscure, honestly. We thought this would be a great way to have a look inside a typical menu plan from 1940s World War II. Now, I want to just preface the video saying the food items that were rationed during the war were sugar, coffee, meats, fats, canned fish, and canned milk. Fruits and vegetables were pretty much in abundance because they did not keep well being shipped overseas or wherever our troops were. So the foods at home tended to rely heavily on things that were available and not rationed. We're going to go through the cookbook a little bit, then we are going to prep, we're going to cook, and we are going to eat all three meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'll share them with you. As we were looking through the menus to decide which ones to make, some of the items today would be so expensive. Lamb, seafood. I mean, some of these things now are not economical at all. But back then, I'm assuming they were readily available. We picked menus that sounded good to us, things we would eat because we didn't want to waste food. And also the majority of the items we had in the home, which was so awesome. So I guess we cooked like the 1940s and we didn't even know it. So we're going to turn the camera around and we're going to begin our day of 1940s prep, cooking, and eating. Here we go. We are so excited to be sharing this video with you. The recipes, the menus, the inspiration we got for today's video is coming from the American Woman's Cookbook. This book is copyright 1942. It's just a plethora of information. One of the things I love so much about this cookbook are the color plates. A lot of these older cookbooks don't have color pictures. I just wanted to share it with you. I thought it was fascinating. The full color illustrations in the American Woman's Cookbook reproduce with striking fidelity the tempting texture of nicely browned chicken, the appetizing hue of roast beef done to a turn, and the verdant crispness of leafy salads. They show precisely how attractive a properly prepared dish should appear when served. It was like it was so important that the food you put on the table was aesthetically pleasing as well as delicious. One of the sections in this book is wartime cookery. Paul and I, as we were looking through the wartime era menus, a lot of these menus call for items now that in our era are extremely high priced. So we wanted to keep it realistic and true to the time, yet still do something that we would eat and that was affordable today. We picked the breakfast and dinner from this day, the lunch from a different day. I'm sure the cooks of that time did it as well. pick a breakfast from this day, a dinner from here, a lunch from there. It depended what they had in the home and what was readily available and affordable. And you'll notice next to a lot of the dishes are little tiny numbers. On the bottom is a key. These are alternative dishes to those little numbers. So where it says sliced oranges, number 1, you come down here to the key. Number 1, tomato or grapefruit juice can be substituted for your sliced orange. So Paul and I are going to have sliced oranges. Instead of waffles, we're going to make pancakes. So we're going to have sliced oranges, rice pancakes, honey or syrup. Notice the way they spell syrup, S-I-R-U-P. I thought that was really unique. Milk and coffee. And you see that little 2 there, you go down and it says cornmeal, buckwheat waffles, or griddle cakes may be substituted. So that's why we're going to make rice griddle cakes. And then the lunch that day was split pea soup made with picnic bone. We did not have the makings for split pea, which is an economical meal, but we just didn't have that. So I opted for a little different lunch. Dinner, we're going to be making scalloped potatoes and chopped picnic casserole. So I was like, we don't have chopped picnic, but I looked down and it said scalloped potatoes and pork shoulder chops or link sausages in a casserole. Well, we have that link sausages. So we're going to make that with some buttered beets, green onion, carrot strips, whole wheat bread, baked apple stuffed with dates, milk, and coffee. So this is going to be super fun. Though I will tell you, I did not buy green onions. Couldn't imagine eating green onion strips. That's just not something we would do, and I didn't want to waste the money. And for the lunch, what we opted for, toasted peanut butter cheese sandwich, coleslaw, sliced banana, and cocoa. And if you look down at cocoa, chocolate milk or milkshakes may be served. We are so happy you are joining us for our wartime menu meals. Tomorrow morning we are starting our cooking day, and I looked over all the recipes, and this one actually needed a little prep work ahead of time. Here's the recipe if you'd like to take a screenshot. It says we need to mix rice with 1 cup of milk and let stand overnight. So I just cooked a cup of rice. So we have our 1 cup of cooked rice, and then it says cover with 2 cups of milk. Wow. And we're going to cover it, put it in the refrigerator, and let it sit overnight. Good morning. We're going to start with our rice griddle cakes. We have had the 1 cup rice soaking in the milk overnight. I made a mistake. We were only supposed to soak the rice in 1 cup of milk, though the recipe calls for 2. I added both cups to the rice. The 2nd cup was supposed to be added later on, just so you know that we're starting off that way. But it's going to be a great day. We're going to have some good food. We are going to sift 1.5 cups all-purpose flour. And I've told you this before, I don't own a sifter. I use a large strainer, and it works fine to sift ingredients. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now we are just going to give this a gentle tap and sift this all together. Now in this bowl, I've got 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. Add 1 egg to that. This is where we were supposed to add the other cup of milk. What I think I'm going to do is just add a little bit of the milk that the rice was soaking in, because I had added the 2 cups right to it. So I think this is fine. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of flour, and I'm going to add a little bit of the egg mixture. Alternately, they said to add dry and then wet, and we're just going to mix this together as we go along. Going to do that again, a little flour and a little egg mixture. This looks like it's going to make a lot. So we may be eating these for a while. I bet they'll freeze real well though. Now it says to grease the griddle, and they would probably use whatever kind of grease they had in the home. I'm using a little bit of butter, but they could have used any kind. Just take by spoonful and add it to the hot griddle. And that's what we're doing. I have my griddle on 300. So we're going to keep an eye on this, and as soon as I start to see little bubbles form, we're going to flip them. So I can see the edges are drying out a little bit. You see those little bubbles? That would say to me they are ready to be flipped, and they are. So we're just going to let these brown on the other side.
Rice griddle cakes. Let's try one. They're good. They're really good. Tastes like a great pancake. This is really, really good.
What do you think is different about these than a regular pancake?
They're almost like a crepe. They're thin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're thin. They're crispy. It doesn't have any of the graininess, which I expected because, you know, when you eat rice, rice has got, you know, some substance to it. Probably roll these up with some jelly and put some powdered sugar on it.
What a great idea.
Thumbs up. Good job.
This recipe was for 5 people, and let me tell you, it would be generous servings. We have all these left over, and as you can see, as I started making them, they got bigger and bigger. Now what we're doing is just letting them cool. I am going to wrap them individually, and we are going to freeze them for a later time because we don't want to waste food. But I did want to make the full recipe to show you exactly what and how they ate. It's lunchtime. We picked the menu: toasted peanut butter or cheese sandwiches, coleslaw, sliced bananas, and cocoa. We think we're going to make 1 toasted peanut butter and 1 toasted cheese, and then we'll each get a half of each kind. We're going to make the coleslaw, and we'll slice up some banana as well. We found cabbage salad, which was like the closest thing we could find to coleslaw. Wanted to find a dressing in the book. We wanted to keep it as authentic as possible. So we're going to make the sour cream salad dressing. So Paul shredded the cabbage. It calls for no other vegetables in this but cabbage. So we are going to do exactly that. Let's get on to make the dressing. We're going to start with our 1 cup of sour cream, 1 tablespoon sugar. It does call for a teaspoon of salt. I am not going to put a full teaspoon in. To us, it would be inedible, and I don't want to waste the food. 1/8 of cayenne, which is going to be just a little bit like that, I'm thinking. That looks good, right? We need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and I just have some fresh lemon that I am squeezing right into there. 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and I'm just using white vinegar. Nothing fancy because I don't believe they would have real fancy vinegars back then. And that is it. So I'm going to mix this together, and this is going to be our dressing for our coleslaw. I'm just going to give it a little taste. Oh my gosh, that's delicious. Oh, I didn't think it would be that good. Okay, now we're just going to mix this in with our coleslaw. This is going to be a go-to dressing. And now we're just going to mix it all together. Here's our grilled cheese recipe we found in the same cookbook. Between 2 slices of medium thick bread, lay slices of cheese cut about 1/8 inch thick. Place in oven until cheese begins to melt. Then toast on both sides and served hot. There is no mention of buttering the bread anywhere. And we are going to make the toasted peanut butter sandwich the same exact way. We want to keep it as authentic as we possibly can. They didn't use butter, we're not using butter. So the first sandwich is going to have 2 slices of cheese. And the second one, we just put some peanut butter on. I'm putting it in a 350-degree oven. It didn't give me a temperature, so I'm kind of guesstimating again. I'm going to watch it, though, probably 5 minutes. We'll let you know. We'll keep you posted. These cook for 4 minutes aside in a 350 oven. But the cheese is melty. and they're crispy. The peanut butter one is really, I guess, just peanut butter on toast, right? If you think about it. So this would be a typical lunch during the World War II rationing period. It actually looks delicious. I'm really anxious to try this one. It's simple and it's all foods I really like. So it's a win-win. It's dinner time. For dinner, we're going to be making scalloped potato and chopped picnic casserole. So we're going to be using pork sausage. We're going to eat buttered beets, carrot strips. We are not eating the green onions. We just wouldn't, it would be wasteful. Some sliced bread, and we're going to make baked apples stuffed with dates and a cup of, I think it's going to be decaf tea and coffee. What do you think? Because it's nighttime. Let's get to making this delicious sounding meal. So I found the recipe for scalloped potatoes in our cookbook. So it calls for 6 medium-sized potatoes, salt and pepper, 2 tablespoons flour, 4 tablespoons butter, and milk. The recipe we're using is calling for some pork. So what we're doing is I am frying up 2 links of Italian sausage. And that is what we're going to add to this casserole. It says pare raw potatoes and cut them into thin slices. Paul is carefully using this slicer to make thin potato slices for our scalloped potatoes. So here's our first layer. This is 3 potatoes, and we'll do the second layer will be 3 potatoes as well. We have our first layer of sliced potatoes, 3 of them. Then I have 2 tablespoons of butter that I just broke up into little pieces, sprinkled it around, and I did 1 tablespoon of flour. Now it says to season with salt and pepper, so I'm going to put some pepper on here. I am not going to add salt because I am using the sausage, and sausage is pretty salty. And if we need salt, we can always add it later. I'm only using 2 links of sausage because I can't imagine they would have used much more. And I just browned it to get some of the fat off. Now, if they would have browned it back in the 1940s, the fat that came off of it would have been kept cold to use at a later date because they wasted nothing. Remember, fats were rationed. Now we're going to layer the last 3 potatoes on top. And now we're going to take the last 2 tablespoons of butter and we're going to put those on top, and our last tablespoon of flour on top, and a little more ground pepper. Now it says to add milk until you can see it between the layers. So I'm not sure what that means, but I guess when we see the milk between the layers, that seems like a lot of milk. I would say that would be good. I'm seeing the milk, and we also have to cover it, so I'm sure it's going to steam while it cooks. So we're going to cover this. We're going to put it in a 375-degree oven for 1 hour, and then we have to check the potatoes are fork tender. Now, while this is cooking, we're also going to be cooking our baked apples. We are also making baked apples with this meal. So we have our 2 apples that we have cored. We have to bake it in a 375 oven. Doesn't say for how long, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it. So here we have our 2 apples. When the last trip we were in Carolina, I had picked up dates to eat for a healthy snack while we were down there, and we still had some left over. So this worked out perfectly. Now it says to put a little bit of sugar in and then stuff it with the dates. So I'm just going to take half a teaspoon, not even in each. Okay, they're all cored. Now I took 4 dates, so 2 in each, and we are stuffing them in there. And now it says to add water to the bottom to cover. So there we go. And it doesn't say to cover them, so we're just going to put them in with our scalloped potato casserole. Our dinner also calls for buttered beets, and we always keep canned beets in the pantry. So I'm just going to take these, put them in a pan, heat them through with a little bit of butter. We just checked our apples and they are tender. They cooked in a 375 oven for just about 35 minutes. They're perfect. So we cooked this for 45 minutes with the lid on, removed the lid, cooked it for another 15. And we cooked it in a 375-degree oven. So we're really anxious to taste it. I kept checking it and I saw it was bubbling. So I assumed it bubbles. That's how the potatoes cook. Just said a silent prayer that this will clean up, because this is a good Pyrex, but I am hoping it will clean up. I'm sure it will. I'm going to be positive. I will let you know though. And in this pot are beets, and I added about a teaspoon of butter to them. So let's eat. Okay, this is our last meal for our World War II cookery. We have got our scalloped potatoes and sausage. We've got our buttered beets. We've got our carrot sticks, a slice of bread. It did not say to put butter on the bread, so we're not going to. And then we have our baked apple with dates that looks wonderful, and we're really just drinking water with this. It says you can have milk, but Paul and I don't drink milk. I am going to taste the scalloped potatoes and sausage casserole. It is delicious. The potatoes are just melting in my mouth. They really are. They are so soft and tender. It is delicious. It is really good. So this is a win. I know I love beets. I know I love raw carrots. And we'll let you know how the baked apple is.
Okay, I'm going to try the baked apple. Yeah, it's good. The apple's still warm. It's kind of tart, but the dates break up that tartness with the sweetness of the dates. So it's actually very good. I like it.
Yay!
Yay!
So it's a win.
It is a win.
Crisis averted. The Pyrex cleaned up perfectly. Just beautiful. I love these classic Pyrexes. We hope you enjoyed today's video. We had such a great time making it. We really did. The rice pancakes were something that I had never thought of, and they were delicious. Baked apples. My sister-in-law makes them all the time. We've never eaten them, really. I've never made them. They were phenomenal. Everything. There was nothing, I think, that I wouldn't eat again. And it just gave us a little insight into how it was back then, how they ate. And the meals were good size. So all in all, it was a total win. And we hope you enjoyed it. Today's question of the day: where do you get your recipes to cook from? Do you go onto the internet? Do you use cookbooks, older cookbooks, modern cookbooks? Do you have heirloom recipes that have been handed down? What are your go-to recipes? Where do you find them? I think that would be so interesting. And if you have a cookbook that you could recommend, or you say, yes, this is a great cookbook, not that we're going to run out and buy it, but maybe we can check it out of the library or look at it online, because a lot of older books you can access online. So share that with us. We would love to know. Again, we hope you enjoyed spending this time with us. Just a reminder that there will be no Tuesday video again next week. It will be next Friday. So please follow us on Instagram to see what we're doing. DM us over there just to say hi. You know we always love to hear from you. And you know that we answer each and every comment you leave us. We ask that you give this a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Thank you again. We ask that you stay well. We ask that you be safe. And above all, we wish you blessings. See you next Friday. Bye-bye.